Hey everyone, Dockwell here, and welcome to another one of my Dota 2 hero guides. Today we're going to be taking a look at Tinker, and this is going to be an update for patch 7.30. It's going to be a part 2, an addendum, an addition to that original Tinker guide, so if you haven't watched that, I would suggest going and looking at that video first, watching that full thing, because despite all of these changes, a lot of the concepts, a lot of the ideas about how you want to play the hero, how you want to think about the hero, haven't really changed. There's just some minor tweaks that give the hero a little bit more of an ability to be active early and basically just give him free money early on. Like, he can just do more early in the game. And so we'll take a look at those few changes, but I would suggest looking at that original guide first and then coming to this one for those changes. Now, we are going to be focusing on mid-Tinker still because although, pro players have been experimenting with support Tinker, forward position Tinker, those kinds of things, I don't think that's really viable yet. We'll see if it will be in the future, and I may make a guide for that, but for now, we're just going to think about mid-Tinker. So, let's get into the changes, and then we'll maybe take a look at a replay or two to see how to do that, how to kind of effectively implement those changes. So, there are two main things that have changed with this hero now. One is the Boots of Travel change, and two is the farming change. So, the first one is Boots of Travel. Basically, the ultimate has stayed the same, except now it has a sub-ability called Keen Conveyance. Basically, this is Boots of Travel. Level 1, you can travel to towers. Level 2, to units. And level 3, to heroes, actually. So at level 3, you get a free Boots of Travel 2, which is crazy. So this is just a sub-ultimate ability. Basically, you get this ability with your ult at level 6. So on Tinker, on most mid-heroes, you should be hitting level 6 around the 5-minute mark right now, and that means you just got 2,500 gold for free on this hero, which is insane. That means that at level 6, around 5 minutes, whenever it is, you can start TPing anywhere on the map that you want, pretty much to any tower. So you can start defending towers. You can get way more active early in the game. You can start ganking. You can start helping out your side lanes. You can be more one of these active mid-heroes. You don't just have to sit around and farm for like 10, 12 minutes, whatever it is, before you can start helping out. So that's the huge change for this hero. You basically get free gold, and you can be way more active early. Now, to kind of balance that out a little bit, they took away March of the Machines, and they put it on the Shard, and they put the old Shard on as a normal ability, and its defense matrix. So the farming capability of March of the Machines is now gone, but they actually put that farming capability on Laser, and so Laser now does AoE damage. It does like splash damage in an AoE, and it's big enough to farm waves and creep camps, and that's kind of all you want. Now, it's not as good as March in the sense that you can't just cast it a couple times and then walk away. You do have to be there. You do have to show yourself. So if you're farming a side lane, it is a little bit more dangerous. But you can get March of the Machines at level 20 when it's later in the game and people have blink daggers and all these other things. So that's still viable to get that. The biggest change now, though, is that you can pretty much max Laser and Heat-Seeking Missile and pair this with your level 6 timing and do a ton of damage in the side lanes. Really gank and help out the side lanes. I know in the past there may have been like builds where you maxed Laser and Heat-Seeking Missile and not March of the Machines, where in other patches maybe where TPs were not as expensive, and so you could help out early in the game, or maybe you could get Boots of Travel really quick and go around and help people out, and you can kind of do that effectively now since you don't have to, farm a bunch to get your Blink Dagger or your Boots of Travel early on. And then the other thing is, this Defense Matrix ability, now that it's a real ability that people have to get and they don't just have to pay for, people are realizing that this ability is actually insane and broken because it gives 50% status resistance, which is crazy, blocks some damage, and lasts for 15 seconds. So if you cast this on people, before a team fight or when you're sieging towers or even in a team fight or whatever, on yourself, your carry, your offlane, a forward position that wants to go in, anything like that, this ability makes it so hard to kill any hero on your team. It's crazy how good this ability is. So even with like 1 point in it early on, you maybe max out Laser, Heat-Seeking Missile, Defense Matrix. We'll see what the build is. I mean, just follow whatever the pros are doing at the time. But, with all of this and even 1 point in this, you can go to the side lanes early on at 6, 7, 8 minutes, whatever it is, and just gank like crazy, defend towers like crazy. It's going to be insane with this hero. He may not farm as fast, but you don't need to buy those boots early on. You just go straight Blink Dagger. You get your bottle, your Soul Ring, your Blink Dagger, and then right into Ags, and you can get that timing really early. You can still farm really well. If you think you need March later on for defending, for pushing waves, because, you know, it's going to be dangerous to laser the waves, you can always get this at level 20, which is still pretty early on in the game. Relatively, you know, people aren't going to be that strong, have that many items yet. You know, they might have a Blink Dagger, but they're not going to be that crazy yet, so you can still get that ability. So now he just has all of this kit. It's even better. The Ags, you know, the Ags is still really good for damage. So that is Tinker. That's the main changes. That's basically how you need to think about the hero now. Instead of, you know, being a farming hero for 10, 20, whatever minutes it is to get his items up, he can impact the game a lot sooner, a lot earlier, because you get that free Boots of Travel. You just go straight into Blink. You can maybe max out your damage spells, and then this defense matrix ability is going to be so good later in the game when you're sieging, taking team fights around Roche, all of that kind of stuff. So those are the major changes for Tinker, and now we can jump into a few replays to see how to actually put those into practice in the game. So now we're jumping in here to a replay of Chuan playing Tinker mid, and I kind of just want to show you the early game and the laning stage portion of a good Tinker replay like this one, because usually, you know, in the past, Tinker would eventually max March. You may maybe get a spell, or a point or two in his other spells like Laser and Missile for harassing in the lane, but now you can just afford to max both of your damage spells, and so this turns Tinker into, you know, less of a farming hero, not someone that just wants to push out the lane, you know, get his levels, push, and then go jungle, but more of a, like a lane-dominating hero. In fact, I took a look at a few replays, and pretty much in every replay, Tinker was dominating the lane, even against like TA and some things like that. He would just, you know, own the lane because you can just max out these damage spells, and it just does so much damage that the enemy just cannot sustain. Even a, you know, an Invoker who usually has good sustain in lane because of his natural built-in, you know, damage and his sustain with his abilities, it's just too much for even an Invoker to withstand in terms of regen, because you're able to max these spells. You see, you know, Tinker is not even scared of an Invoker. I mean, it's only level 3 Invoker, but still, like, usually you have to be a little bit scared if the Invoker's going to cold snap you and other things like that. But the Tinker can just, like, know that with this damage, with this burst damage, that anytime one of these spells is off cooldown, the Invoker has to be extremely scared. So we're just going to go to 2 times speed here for the laning stage, and see that, you know, even no matter what the Invoker does, the Tinker is still, like, in a good position to dominate this lane. And usually I see that the Tinker isn't necessarily, like, owning on CS, like, in terms of last hits, but usually he's getting way more denies than the enemy hero. Like, even when I was watching the TA replay, the Tinker had more denies than the TA, which is kind of crazy. So, as we fast forward, it's just the normal laning stage, but you see the Tinker is constantly harassing down this Invoker, and it's just so annoying to lane against when he can just max both of these spells. It's just crazy how much damage these spells do, and then there you go. We can, you know, we can just rewind a little bit. He gets a kill here pretty easily. You see the Invoker's low, but still trying to get that XP. And he just used his spells a little bit ago, but they're about to be off cooldown. And once both are off cooldown, there's just absolutely nothing that the Invoker can do. He hits level 5, skills up his laser, has a level 3 laser, a level 2 rocket, and the Invoker is just dead. And that's pretty much the laning stage, honestly. Get your last hits, use your abilities on the enemy, and you know that eventually, even if you use your, even if you use a lot of your mana, you have a lot of runes in these patches, and you also are going to get sick soon. So even if you do run out of mana by, you know, level 6, by minute 4 to 5, latest like 6, you're going to be able to TP back to base anyway. So the mana really isn't that big of a problem, and you're going to go bottle regardless on this hero. So that's pretty much Tinker's laning stage. It's actually pretty simple. Just use your abilities on the enemy, harass them down, and try to focus on getting your last hits. It's actually just as simple as that. So now let's skip ahead a little bit. We're going to skip ahead a couple minutes. And we're just going to kind of see that he's constantly looking at side lanes, as we have a glitched replay there. But he's constantly looking at side lanes like bottom and stuff. He realized that he couldn't help out because the problem with level 1 is that you can only TP to towers. So it's one of those things you kind of need to set up. You can turn ganks. You can't really get super aggressive with the abilities early on because you're only able to TP to towers. You can't TP on the creep wave that's coming in. So that is a little bit of a thing that's not as good level 1. Compared to Boots of Travel, so it's more of like a tower defense kind of ganking thing. something where you need to set up in the side lanes, but you can see that as we watch this replay here, and again, I'll go to 2x speed to just speed it up a little bit, they're constantly looking to be aggressive. Even if it is something where the clock is going on the Invoker, they're just still looking to be aggressive, whether that's being aggressive mid or even being aggressive top, as we'll see. He's constantly checking the side lanes to see, you know, is there an opportunity for me to, you know, turn a gank, turn a dive, something like that, defend a tower. And I think this is going to be soon here a perfect example of that. He sees that the enemy is getting aggressive. They have a ward, and the Sand King is, you know, going there, and he just gets basically a double kill for his team because he knew that, you know, when the enemy is pushing into the tower, they're going to be vulnerable because he's going to be able to TP right on top of them like that. So that's basically Tinker in a nutshell. That is Tinker this patch. And as you see, it's almost 8 minutes into the game. He has his bottle. He has his soul ring. He has 1,000, almost basically 1,200 gold right here. So he's really, really close to his Blink Dagger. He's probably going to get Blink before 10 minutes. And now you have a Blink Tinker going around, and that is really the time. Obviously, once you get Blink, that now the level 1 ult isn't really a hindrance anymore because you can TP into the tower and blink in, and you're honestly going to get level 2 ult close to that time anyway. But you see, again, now he's TPing top because he knows the enemy is getting aggressive. And this silencer just stands absolutely no chance, and if the monkey sticks around too long, the monkey will also die. You see that the monkey knows, obviously there's a bunch of heroes there, but really the biggest problem for him is the Tinker, that if he sticks around and gets in range of this Tinker, he is going to just get blown up instantly, and that's honestly the biggest problem. So I think that is honestly what I wanted to show you. That is my updated Tinker guide, because I think this replay is the perfect replay to really show you how to adjust to the new Tinker, to play the new Tinker. Constantly be checking side lanes, constantly be looking to get aggressive instead of just farming. As we see here, he's just doing so much damage early on in this game. And we saw early in the game, in the laning stage, you just kind of use a lot of your spells because you know you're going to be able to get runes, and you're going to be able to get 6 early and TP back if you ever have mana issues, so it's not really going to be a problem. So you max your first 2 spells, you get aggressive in lane, you dominate the lane, and then at 6, you look to see if you can ever defend a tower, if you can pressure the side lanes whenever someone's diving or someone's really pressuring. And that, I think, is really the new way to play Tinker. And then from here, from this 9-10 minute mark, once he gets Blink, it's the same old Tinker, really. You get Blink, you know, farm with your laser, you go to the side lanes and help whenever you can. Maybe at level 20 or at minute 20, you get your March, so then you can, you know, clear waves a little bit more effectively once it's later in the game, and you can do that a little bit more safely so that people aren't just, you know, ganking you constantly. And then you get your Ags to do a ton of damage, and then you get Sheep, you get all of those other kinds of things like I've talked about before. So I think that's the new Tinker mainly, especially from mid. Like I said before, if Tinker's played in a support or offlane or something other role like that in the future, and it's like really solidified as a real thing that's going to happen, not just experimental, then I may make a guide about that. But for now, mid Tinker, really good. I think better than ever, honestly. And so yeah, that's my Tinker guide. I hope you guys liked it. I hope it was helpful for you, so it can help you with your Tinker games in the future. And as always, if you like the video, guys, like, subscribe, leave a comment, all of those kinds of things. If you want me to take a look at one of your replays, like I always do, just leave a comment below, and I'll make sure to do that. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.